And we are live. What's up, guys? Welcome to another PWF Sunday live stream. I have the honor to bring on board today. Well, which should we call you? Are we using your real name or are we using an alias?
Eli. It's my real name anyway. It's my nickname.
Okay, we'll go with Eli. All right, so Eli is one of the new assistant coaches at Playing with Fire, and I've known him for quite a while. So do you want to just start off by introducing yourself real quick?
Yeah, man. So I'm 29 years old. I joined PWF, I think at the beginning of 2018, like January, something like that. I had been into game before that, but like had never been serious about it. I've never been like shitty with girls, but like I definitely was not getting the amount that I wanted. Until I joined PWF, like fuck man, my text game was so shitty when I first joined. My texts were basically like super wordy. I used a ton of like emojis and lols and like all this kind of like artificial energy when I was texting, and it just like it wasn't working. And then I got into PWF and it was like the fucking curtain was pulled back on like what actually worked, you know? And then
would you say it was one of those things? Because I find there's two different kinds of groups of people who join Playing with Fire. First are the people who just pick it up right away, and the second are the people who it's like a slow process. Which of those categories were you in?
I would say for me, I picked it up really quickly. Like as soon as I saw what was working, I picked it up really quickly. And I got a lot better really quickly, but then I hit like a hard plateau. After like probably, I would say 3 or 4 months, like I like huge, steep increase in ability. But then like after that first 3 or 4 months, like I definitely plateaued. And then it probably took me like another year kind of to like break through that plateau and start seeing like, I guess like the underlying reasons for why the lines are working. You know, like I was learning when to employ them and like how to use them in the first few months, but I guess like I didn't really understand why until like maybe like a year and a half into PWF, something like that. And then like after I got out of that first plateau, then it just like it got so much better, so much faster.
Do you want to give some background stats about yourself? Like you're 29 years old. I know. Literally, dude, I was as we were about to start this, I got a text from J Wolf. What's his lay count?
My lay count's like, oh man, you're gonna hate me for this, but I don't have an exact number. If I had to guess,
I don't either.
If I had to guess, I would put it somewhere between like 150 to 200. When I first started with PWF, I was at like 35. Something like that.
Okay, so it's been like exponential growth.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And so my lay count was, like 35 when I joined PW. And I was in and out of relationships for like probably 6 or 7 years, something like that, from the age of like 18 until I was like 25, 26. I was like in and out of like 1.5 year long relationships here and there. So like that definitely like slowed me down. And like, whenever I would kind of pick up some momentum in game, then I would like end up in a relationship, and then it's like stop learning for a while, and then you kind of restart when you get out of the relationship. But yeah, I was at like 35, but then like since joining PWF, like I kept like a rough count until I got to like 100, but then like past 100, I was like, I just lost count, and it's like,
when I got to 20, I can only do a rough estimate. I remember when I got to 20, 25, I just completely lost track when I was like 22 or something like that. Yeah, I used to be able to recall like that. I was like, oh, there was Jesse, and then there was Anna, and then there was Fat Nancy and stuff like that. Okay, so one thing I want to just, because for guys who don't know you, one thing that I do like about you is that there's many things obviously, but in terms of coaching is that you were able to develop your own style. So I noticed a lot of guys, they like more or less try to copy me, which is, I don't know, kind of flattering a little bit, but it's not that effective, right? Especially because I have very much my own type of humor, my own shit. So you can get some results by copying me, but you're gonna be much better to just apply the concepts that I teach and developing your own style. So you're one of the few people who actually did that, and you did it successfully. So that when you give feedback, it's not just a replica of what I would say. Like sometimes it's gonna be different answers, but it's still based on the same principles, more or less.
Yeah, man, I totally agree with that. And that's one of the things that I like so much about this program now is that, like when people are asking for advice from us, I think it's like like sometimes people will say like, oh, like Nitin gave me this line, but like Alex gave me this line, or like Eli gave me this line or whatever. And it's like, maybe like they feel like they're being told two different things. And then they feel like who should I go with or whatever? Like I'm getting different advice, but that's actually a huge advantage, because what it means is that there's all these different styles, and it means that there's not one specific style that works, but there is obviously like, there's the underlying foundations of not being needy, of, you know, not being too available for her, not taking her bullshit, having your own standards. Like these are going to kind of be like the things that are going to be common in everybody's text game who's good, at least. Like if you're good at text game, you're going to do all of these things. But outside of that, like there's so many different angles that you can come from. And what's really going to help you improve is understanding why these lines are working, understanding the psychology behind the lines and like what's going into it, and like why they're saying certain things at certain times. It's so dangerous for guys when they come in and they just become like fucking robots, and they're just like spitting out the exact lines that are giving to them, and like all they know how to do is kind of go through a routine step by step by step. And if she throws him a little curveball that doesn't fit exactly into the routine, then a guy won't know what to say, because it's just like he knows how to like memorize what he said back to back, but he can't come up with his own shit or like develop his own style because he's so stuck in the routine of asking coaches like exactly what to give them or whatever. So it's so important to kind of like take their advice and understand why they're giving you that advice, but then to kind of tailor it to yourself so that you can actually have like free flowing conversations with girls and not just like scripted lines.
Yeah, basically, I always give this analogy. I would equate it to like working out. There's not like there's more than there's underlying principles, which is like, you know, hitting your macros, progressive overload, compound lifts, right? But then there's all like, you know, some people prefer to do longer rep range. Some people to do like shorter reps. Some people like to do longer rest periods. Like, for example, I like to take fucking 5-minute breaks in between like really heavy sets. Like, and a lot of people do that. Some people only rest a minute. Like, there's more than one way to accomplish the same goal. And a lot of it just comes down to personal preference. Like, what works better for you personally? Like, I know for me personally, like separating my workouts works the best. Like, I don't like to hit every single thing on like one day after another. Like, so it's just a lot of preference. All right, so I think now that we kind of gave that background info, let's just jump straight into the questions because they're really starting to pile up. Otherwise, we're going to be here until next Sunday. All right, so I'm here to catch some big game. You're in the right place. What are the pros and cons of living gaming in Miami? How does it compare to Vegas and New York City? So, have you ever been to Miami, Eli?
No, man. No, I live in Vancouver. I went to Vegas for a weekend and fucked a couple girls down there, but like I would not consider myself an expert of like gaming in Vegas or New York or Miami or anything like that.
Yeah, so I would say, well, if we're going by living, Miami is a lot more affordable than New York City. It really is. I think it's also like it's more of my style. It's more open. I don't like how New York City is just stacked on top of each other. In terms of purely for game, New York City, if you're into like more like white shit, like New York City has everything and anything. Like you can have every single type, and the population density there is so like condensed that Tinder there is off the hook. You know, even like day game, whatever, anything is going to be really good in New York City just due to the population density and the fact there's so many single women. But on the flip side, it's really fucking expensive. It's all stacked on top of each other, which I personally don't like. Some people like that. Miami, you have a shitload of very hot Latinas, right? But if you're into like tall white girls, then you're going to be in the wrong place. Vegas, I personally just would not want to live there because it's like just I don't know. I find like that place gets depressing after a week of like staying down there. Like it's fun to visit with your friends for a little bit, but then if you're like there for too long, it just gets depressing. Like the whole city is based around like sucking money from tourists. That's really like the whole city. That's the vibe of the cities. Take as much money as you can from the tourists, right? So like I don't know if that's a place I would want to live. Also in terms of game, there's all these complexities in Vegas. Like a lot of chicks are visiting and they're sketched out to like leave their friends. They're usually in these big friend groups. I mean, that's not to say you can't get laid in Vegas. I've done it plenty of times. It's not that hard. But there's complexities that don't exist in other cities, let's just say. So for that reason, I definitely would not want to live in Vegas. So if I liked the whole population density thing, I would live in New York. If not, Miami or LA. All right. Next question. I've heard that all the clubs in Miami are horrible for games, super expensive car charges, and super loud, way better day game, good bars. I honestly wouldn't know. I have not been to a single club in Miami. I've been here for 3 years. I've gone to a grand total of 0 clubs. I hate clubs no matter where I am.
Fuck clubs. Fuck clubs, man. I hate gaming and clubs in general. Like go, you know what, whatever city I'm in, my favorite place to go is wherever's closest to the hostel. Like, if there's a hostel around, go to like the stinky, shitty dive bar underneath it, and there's gonna be tons of horny foreigners in there that you can just like scoop up. Like, anywhere you go. Like, fuck the clubs though, man. Like,
is there even anyone who likes clubs? Like, any guy in pickup who actually enjoys clubs? Like, unless you're one of the few people who enjoys like the music experience, which again, I don't know if a club is really the best place for that. But
yeah, fuck that.
Unless you're rolling or something like that, I personally just don't have fun in clubs. My voice gives out after 20 minutes because you have to fucking yell. I don't think they're ideal for pulling chicks. I think you get not way hotter, but way easier to meet girls at like bars, outdoor lounges. Those are like usually my favorite in Miami. Like, we're just like, the music's not loud, there's no cover, it's just chill, like that type of environment. There's a lot of those here, so I go to those. Tinder, day game, whatever. So
I fully agree. Yeah.
Literally have not been to one place with a cover charge since I was maybe 23, 24.
Yeah.
All right. Has living in Miami, it's just all Miami related questions. Has living in Miami motivated you to learn Spanish since there's so many Latinas? Yeah, so it actually has, and I was actually doing Spanish lessons for a while, and then this chick who was teaching me, she wound up moving away, but she wound up moving to LA. But yeah, it has motivated me, and I do speak some Spanish. But yeah, there's a lot of hot Latinos who don't speak any English, so knowing Spanish fluently in Miami is a big advantage for sure. What are your favorite cities for living in? All right, so what's your take on that?
My favorite cities, you know what I really liked was Austin, Texas.
Oh, cool. I live there too.
Yeah, I was only there for a little while, but I liked it because like the chicks just seemed like super open and like super fun, and like there was a ton of live music happening. I like going to bars that have live music if I'm hitting on a chick, just because like you can talk to the girl at the same time, but you can like move around a little bit, and like the energy is like so much more positive in a bar where there's live music, and there's tons of spots like that in Austin. So I definitely love that. I mean, I live in Vancouver now, and I love Vancouver because there's a lot of like really fit girls here that are into like, I don't know, I fucking hate hiking, but like I hate hiking, but I like girls who are into hiking, if that makes sense.
You like the idea of hiking. You like it,
yeah.
Not in practice.
Yeah. I like for my girls to hike. I don't want to hike though. And same thing, like I like my girls to do yoga and be flexible, but like I'm not doing fucking yoga. So like Vancouver's has like tons of chicks like that. So I like Vancouver.
You have Latinas, you have a lot of Asians there, right?
Tons of Asians. But I mean, like there's a healthy mix of everything, to be honest. Yeah. Like that's another reason I like it. But yeah, Austin was good. I only went to Vegas once, and like it was fun, and like it was easy to get laid there, but like I don't know, same as what you said, like I could never live in Vegas. Yeah, what else? Montreal in Canada. Montreal's
a highly underrated city. The girls there are so hot.
Dude, Montreal's fucking dope. Yeah, I love it.
So I think they're probably the hottest girls in Canada in Montreal.
Yeah, for sure.
Or Toronto, possibly. Yeah, my take on this would be, actually, I would say Medellin, Colombia is fucking epic for lifestyle in terms of the scenery there is really good. Just gorgeous city. Like you have these dope ass mountains. The girls are hot. They're very abundant. The food is really good. It's cheap. The only thing I don't like about it is that, it's lack of English there. So if you're going to live in Medellin, you have to learn Spanish. Like, and it just gets annoying for me. Like you bang a girl, it's great, she's hot, but then like you can't talk to her. So it's just like all you can do is bang her, which is fine. But like that takes like 50% of the fun out of it. Like at least after like the first few times. So so that's my take. I like Medellin. I like Warsaw. I think Warsaw is a cool city. I don't know if
Warsaw's great.
Yeah, I don't know if I would live there long term, but maybe for a month or two. It's definitely cool. Again, same thing. The English there is a lot better than Warsaw is one of those. Warsaw and Medellin are cities that if your Tinder is somewhat decent, you literally never have to leave your apartment and get laid every single night, like with a new girl, like or 2 or 3 girls, whatever. Like it's the options are endless. Like I could not keep up with all the girls when I was in Medellin. My phone was just like I was literally like canceling dates because I just literally wanted to rest. Like it was like a fucking total chick move when I was in terms of America, I don't know. I'm still thinking on that. I've never really lived in San Diego, but I'm kind of interested in that city. I lived in LA. That was a cool city. Not so much for game though. Miami's also cool, decent for game. Austin, things I liked about, things I didn't. So runs the gamut. I also hate the cold. So a lot of cities for me are out. For example, like Boston, that's where I went to university, is actually really a great city for game. Because the female to male ratio there is insane due to all the universities there. So it's like Boston's like 65% girls. It's like insane there. Like you're not going to get that kind of ratio, I think, in any other city in the U.S. And a lot of them are hot, very educated girls, take health seriously, blah, blah, blah. Just fucking cold there. Like that's my beef with Boston. It's nice from May to maybe October. So yeah, so it's really a lot of this comes down to personal preference, honestly. How many total coaches and people in PWF? So total coaches, we got, including me, 3. You, me, and Indian P. Are you frozen? Oh, there we go. Okay, it's moving. And people, I don't know. Depends if we're looking at paid members. It's probably like 500 right now. Whatever. Just people who follow us on YouTube. We're about to hit 20,000. So yeah, it's growing, which is good. Do you travel much? Do you travel a lot, Eli?
I've wanted to, but I just started doing like online business recently so that I could travel. But like as soon as my business started getting up and running, fucking COVID hit. But like as soon as I can get out of here, like I'm going for sure.
Where do you think
I haven't done much so far. I want to go through Europe, like probably go to like Warsaw, go through Romania, Croatia, like all those spots.
Romania, bro.
Sure. Skip it.
Yeah, that place fucking sucks, dude. I spent a week in Romania. That was a week too long.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. There's literally the only good thing about Romania is there's this one restaurant that's really tasty. But other than that, like if you go there, I'll send you the name of that place. I was eating there like 3 times a day.
Okay.
And it's like cheap. Other than that, dude, that city fucking sucks, man. Like, dude, in the summer it's hot as balls. You're walking around, it's 100 degrees, and no one fucking fixes their air conditioners. So you're just getting hit by like fucking goo of like AC fluid. Like happens like 10 times an hour. You're like covered in sweat and AC goo. No one, like, girls don't speak English. Like I was just like, get the fuck out of here. Like, fuck this place. I couldn't wait to get out when I got there.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. Warsaw and probably like Hungary. Go through Hungary and Croatia would be my favorite.
Nice.
I would think.
Yeah, man, maybe I'll join you for part of that trip. Do I travel a lot? I used to much more when I was younger. Now I prefer more of like, I don't like doing I don't like doing like 3-4 days and just constantly moving around. If I'm going to go somewhere, I'd rather stay there, I think. So, I think the next place I'm planning on going, if this COVID thing clears up, I might go to Warsaw for a few weeks, hit it before it gets cold. Warsaw, you can only go there really until September, October. And I want to go back to Medellin for maybe a few weeks, but I like having like a home base, like one city where I stay in. I don't like constantly being on the go because you make friends, you make like girls or whatever. And I just don't like, I did that a lot when I was younger, and then you just have to constantly like pick up and relearn everything. And it becomes a drag. I think it's fun to do for a little bit, but I don't think it's a sustainable way of life. Okay, that's me. Okay, what's your logistics and living situation like? Do you solo or with a roommate? Any tips for setting a place to pull with hot chicks? What's your situation like?
I live with one of my best friends, and he's pretty good with chicks too. I mean, like, he's not technical at all. He's just like kind of like a natural kind of guy, just like super extroverted and like laid back kind of guy. So yeah, our apartment is a fucking revolving door of chicks for sure. I used to live with my brother up until like a year and a half ago, and that was fucking mayhem because like he never got laid, so he would complain about all the chicks that I was bringing home, and like we had super thin walls, and he would have to listen to me fucking them all the time.
It's gotta be the worst. You're like listening to your brother fucking girls, and you're like, shit, man.
Yeah, I know. And he never got laid. And he's better looking than me too. Like he absolutely could get laid. He just had shit game, or I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, I basically moved out of my apartment with my brother so that I could fuck chicks without somebody complaining at me all the time. So yeah, I just live with my friend now.
Word. Honestly, I think that the your place setup is largely irrelevant as long as you have good logistics. As long as you're in like in the center, whatever. If you're doing night game, then close to the bars. If for Tinder is just like somewhere that's not in the ghetto or not in the middle of nowhere, where like
yeah.
As long as you're in a good have good logistics, I think the place setup itself is largely irrelevant. Like my place is messy. So like dude, my place sometimes is so messy. Like it's definitely suboptimal. Like I've had girls that come into my place and they're like, "You live like this?" Like one time a chick was like, literally, "Can we go in your room? The flies are starting to get disturbing for me." Like literally, there's like flies flying around my kitchen, my living room.
Good strategy though, man. Then the chicks just want to go in your room.
I mean, well, dude, I have right now one girl who I hooked up with, and then she kind of like we had like a really good sex, and then she like kind of was like she would be responsive over text, but then when I was trying to make plans, she would kind of get, and I was like, "What's up?" Like you're being kind of. She's like, honestly, she's like, "I have OCD, and your place was so dirty, it fucking triggered every ounce of my OCD." So I'm like, all right, like, well, I'll fucking clean up a little bit before next time. So that's definitely suboptimal, but I think all that stuff is largely irrelevant. Oh, and to answer your question, I have a roommate. Yeah. Okay, when I downloaded Tinder, I was matching with hot chicks, but now it's only fat chicks. Was it because I had a new Tinder boost, and how could I match with hot chicks to get photos work out more? So yeah, I mean, you kind of answered the own question there. It was the new Tinder boost. So when you join Tinder, you get whatever, like shown to way more girls. It happens with pretty much every dating app, and then it slows down. So really what your results are like 10, 15 days after, or maybe even a week after you download Tinder, or what's like your baseline, right? So you have to improve your baseline. So that's going to be pics, increasing your sexual market value, pretty much all the stuff that you said. Make a post in the forums with your profile. We'll take a look and see where you're at. All right. How long have you been doing PWF and how did it start? 3 years. It started. I think I've told this story several times. Basically, it was an accident. I was working in sales, and I just like to share stories about like my hookups and shit. So I would make a lot of posts, and then people seemed to like those posts. And, the group just grew organically. Then people started hitting me up to do one-on-one coaching. And I was like, oh, shit, you want to like pay me money to coach you? I was like, all right, like I guess I can do that. And then I was like, well, I might as well make a website, might as well make a YouTube. Well, I might as well create a product that, condenses everything I've learned. So it kind of grew from there. What would you say has been the hardest and the funnest part for doing coaching for you, Eli?
The hardest part would probably be like the consistency of replying to people, like, because there's always things you can be replying to. It's kind of the same as like with chicks, when you have so many leads going, then it's a bad idea to be responding to chicks just like all day long, right? So what you kind of want to do is like block out periods of time where you're going to respond to all of them, and then like take a little break, and then respond to all of them again, and like wait for them to respond. And I think like that's kind of the same thing. It's like, it's so easy to like kind of have your entire day like taken away from you, or like, just like get so involved, and like, so it can be a little bit overwhelming in that regard, or overwhelming is not even the right word. Just like, you can kind of get lost in it really easily. So I would say that's the most challenging part, is kind of like trying to make sure that I'm giving myself into the group and like giving the guys the help that they need, but then at the same time, kind of like taking myself back out of it and doing what I need to do for a little while, and then going back into it for a little while. I would say that's definitely the most challenging thing. I mean, it's been super enlightening for me too, because like when it comes to Tinder and when it comes to hitting on chicks or whatever, like it's going to be reps, right? Like what you want to do is get as many reps in as possible, get as much practice as you can, get as much like reference experience as you can, right? And so for me as a coach, it's actually been super helpful, because like the amount of conversations that I'm responding to all the time, like I can feel myself even getting better and better as I go along. So like I would say that's probably one of the main benefits of having been coaching this last little while, is like I see myself just improving so fast as well because I get so many reps, right?
Yeah, for sure. You start learning a lot more when you start doing coaching. I would say the hardest part for me is just the frustration of sometimes when people, I would say, don't want to use their brains, like just like when people are lazy. The funnest part, I don't know, there's a lot of it.
Yeah.
What would you say the funnest part is for you?
The funnest part is, oh man, like the other day, I don't know if I should say his name, but our little Indian friend fucking lost his virginity. And like,
yeah, that was fun.
Dude, like shit like that, hearing stories like that of like guys that get like so fucking stoked on successes that they have, and then they come back and they're like, because when they're inside of it and they're in the middle of the process, they feel like they're moving at a snail's pace, right? They feel like they're learning super, super slowly. They feel like they're making mistakes left and right. But then if you take the 30,000 foot view of where they started and where they've come from, it's like your trajectory has been extremely steep, right? Like you have improved so fast. Like imagine yourself saying things like this to girls before you join the program or whatever. So yeah, for me, it's just like seeing the successes that guys get, like having them post that lay report up in the group and be like, had such a fun time with this chick, like never would have imagined that I would have been with a chick like this, or like could have banged somebody so easily or whatever. Like that's definitely my favorite thing. Or like when I see guys who like used to not be very good and then they start giving advice to other guys in the group and like kind of like they're paying it forward in that way. And it just creates a really strong community within the group. And that was always something that I really liked about the group too, is like there's a really strong community and kind of like brotherhood aspect of it. And there's like the paying forward aspect of like once a guy gets good, then he wants to start helping other people too.
Yeah, for sure. I like the community aspect of it a lot. I also like random like things like now there's a lot of girls who are popping up on the YouTube channel and they're like, oh, like I thought you were gonna be a giant douchebag, but this is actually very good advice. Like I love hearing shit like that. Or like there's been a few girls who like slid into the Playing with Fire Instagram DMs and they were like, hey, like you're actually doing like good work. Like I don't know, like I like shit like that because I remember when I like started this business, I thought that guys were gonna get it and girls were not gonna get it. And then eventually I came to the conclusion that girls are not all, there's going to be obviously haters on both sides, but most girls, if you explain it properly, are going to get it as well.
Yeah, so, definitely.
So I've liked seeing that kind of proof. Like that's been very interesting to me. I'm still waiting on my first, I'm still waiting to get to the point where I hook up with a female fan. Like, a chick was like, oh, you're actually super hot. Like, can I be your next Larry report? I'm like, ooh, that's just yeah. All right. So you and Andrew talked about being dominant and feared in bed. Can you expand on this and give some tips for an experienced person not to be a 2-pump chump? It's all about the 3-pump chump lifestyle. So to expand on that, so feared was kind of Andrew's way of explaining it, but I think what he was trying to get at was that you just want the woman to like respect you, right? I think he meant an extreme form of respect. So I think fear was maybe not the best way to describe it. But anyway, so for an inexperienced person not to be, a lot of this just comes down to comfort. So you're not going to be a sex guy when you've only had sex with a few times or with a few girls. A lot of this just comes down to comfort, just being fully comfortable. Like I remember, I can tell you guys, like when I was like 18, 19, I used to be like super awkward about being naked. Like I was always worried that like, oh shit, like, and then like now I just don't give a shit. Like there's a lot of things that you just get like super comfortable with, like. So just becoming really comfortable with yourself, knowing what exactly it is that you like. So kind of, I would say like my early to mid 20s when I started getting laid, I kind of pushed the boundaries of like, tried all the shit that, threesomes, anal, whatever. And then I was like, okay, I like this. I don't like this, okay, that's what I like. So a lot of it is that, a big part of this is connection. Like, girls you connect with more, you're just going to have a better sexual experience. You can't really force connection. Like some chicks might be really hot, but you just don't really connect with them as people. So it's not going to be the best sexual experience. In terms of practical things, so in terms of lasting longer, these are the two things that work really well for me. First one, kratom. It's like a game changer. Second is when you're banging a girl and you get close to coming, you pull out and you eat her out and you like kind of let things calm down a little bit and then you start banging her again. So it's just like alternating between those two things has been two game changers for me. What would you say?
Yeah, it's it's kind of funny because like for me, I know exactly like what guys are referring to when they say like they really want to impress girls like the first time that they have sex with them or whatever. And like, I feel kind of guilty when I kind of tell them my mindset. And there's a lot of advice in the group about like when a guy first hooks up with a girl, the very first time he has sex with her, then like, I feel like it's kind of blown up like, you need to be some sort of sex god or whatever. Like you need to be like so insanely good in bed that this girl is like, oh my God, like I just had sex with a fucking Greek god or something like that, right? The funniest thing about, and like, okay, retention has always been the strongest part of my game. If I fuck a girl one time, then like the likelihood of me fucking her again is extremely high. Like even before I was into game, like retention is just like a really strong part of my game. I'm gonna be completely honest. I give zero effort to make a girl come the first time I have sex with her ever. To be honest, it's kind of like a little bit of like a rule of mine where I won't even try to make her come until she's kind of proven to me that she's going to be like a good rotation girl. And like, she's going to be the kind of girl who like I enjoy hanging out with and not just fucking, you know, like if she's actually going to be like a cool girl to hang out with, then like she kind of earns the privilege for me to make her come. And it's like, I hate telling guys this because then they start thinking like, oh, okay, like I don't have to be good in bed or whatever. And like, that's not the reason that I'm saying it. Like, the reason that I'm saying it is that a lot of guys build up in their heads how good they have to be in bed in order to make a girl come back. And when the reality of the situation is that, to be honest, most girls probably don't even expect to have an orgasm the first time that you have sex with them. And second, like if you are like just like halfway decent in bed, then like the majority of the retention and like getting that girl to come back is just being like a fucking cool, chill guy. Like show her a good time before the date, fuck her decently well. And then after that, like be a cool guy again. Like, and like, don't be needy about it. Don't start like employing game tactics and shit on her. Like even after you've had sex, like that's the thing. Like my attitude usually switches a lot, like from before sex to after sex. Whereas like before sex, like I'll be a lot more intense with my eye contact or like with my like physical proximity or whatever. But like after we've had sex, man, like I'm just fucking laying there basically talking about like whatever I want. Like maybe before we have sex, like she would be talking 80% of the time. And then after we have sex, I just talk about whatever the fuck I want. Like it completely changes. And I think like, I don't know, maybe like the change in my comfort and like how I kind of like changed my personality a little bit from like before to after sex has something to do with the retention aspect of it. I don't know. Now this is a bit of a tangent, but like, I guess what I'm trying to say is that when I started not caring about making girls come or like being a sex god the first time that we would have sex, that was actually when it became like I was able to be a lot more free flowing when I would have sex with them and like stop worrying about like coming so fast or like worrying about making her come or like, you know, like trying to be amazing in bed, because it got to the point where I was like, I don't really care if she comes or not, or if I come fast or whatever, because like she kind of has to prove to me that she's the kind of girl that I want to make come first. So it alleviates a lot of the pressure. And when it comes down to it, when you're not being good in bed, if you come really fast or like maybe you have dick issues or like maybe you're just like so not confident in bed, so often those issues are going to be in your head, right? They're going to be, it's going to be a mental issue. And like, you can do all the fucking Kegels in the world or whatever it is, whatever tactic you're trying to do to try to fix your coming fast. But in the end, it's like, you have to fix what's happening in your head if you want that to go away. So I guess in a roundabout way, that was kind of how I accomplished that.
Well, I think I agree with part of what you said. I minorly disagree with other parts, but I would say that a big part of what I do agree with is that I don't try to impress girls when I hang out with them, I don't try to impress girls in bed. I'm never trying to impress. So I think that a lot of guys, where you're kind of touching on, a lot of guys are like trying to impress the girl. Like, oh, I gotta like really give her this performance.
For sure.
But like anytime you're trying to impress, it's always like a low frame. So the way I think of it is like if you're hanging out with a good friend who you haven't seen in a while, like sure you're gonna wanna like make sure they have a good experience hanging out with you. Like you're gonna offer them a drink or something. You're gonna be like, you're going to pay attention to them when they talk. You're not going to check your phone. But you're not going to be trying to impress them. You're not going to be like, hey, bro, you having a good time? Huh? It's good, right? You like that? You like it when I crack jokes? Like, you like it when we talk about our old gym teacher who used to, like, molest us? Like, you know, like – so that's kind of the analogy I would use there. And a lot of it just becomes like – I think, like, the best sexual experiences happen when you're, like, not putting pressure on yourself. There's no pressure and just, like, a spontaneous thing. Kind of like – you know, like the most fun memories you probably have, you know, with your friends is just like when just you weren't like it just like something just happened, you know, kind of like that type of thing, you know, like once you start hooking up, yes, there's, you know, principles that you should follow, like, you know, try to pick up on what she's into. Like, for example, is she like it, you know, really rough, or is she like, you know, actually like more of a gentle love maker? Like, there's stuff like that you can pick up on and modify. And, you know, I will modify to a certain degree within the scope of things that I like. But for example, if a girl wants me to like punch her in the face, I'm not going to do that, you know, even if she likes that. Like, I'm just there's certain things I'm just not going to do. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the analogy I would give. All right. What is the best approach for going after a girl who becomes recently? I like that, the terminology, going after a girl. Vice is going to be watching this. What is the best way to get her to see that you're better than her ex without being too pushy for girls not to? I think a lot of this depends on the context of what's your relationship with a girl. Is it some chick that you're actually pretty close with, or is it some chick that you barely know? So I think context here is going to be huge. But again, I think that part of this, I wouldn't even really talk so much about the ex. Like, I think a high value guy doesn't really give a shit about like her ex or something like that. You know that you're awesome, so you're not going to be constantly trying to like think like, oh, how can I one up this guy? Like, you already know you're the shit. So I think just honestly, a lot of this will just come down to just like regular game, just regular good game. Like, you know, just make your intention known. Don't be needy. Be straightforward. Lead, escalate, and make shit happen. You know, I think really after you bang the girl, then you kind of like knock on the ex a little bit. I sometimes do that like after I bang the girl. But I remember there was a time when I was hooking up with this married chick, and I don't know, it was like a touchy subject for her. Like whenever I would like kind of like mock her husband a little bit. So I just like, I think often it is a touchy subject for girls. So I don't know. That's kind of my take on that. What do you think?
Yeah. So for me, the way I think about it is like when a girl is coming out of, we're assuming that this is like a long-term relationship, I'm sure, not some sort of like fling that she's coming out of. When she's coming out of a long-term relationship, the way that long-term relationships are usually going to work is that maybe the girl starts seeing the guy and he's like this alpha kind of like Chad kind of dude at the beginning, and they fuck all the time at the beginning. But as the relationship goes on, you know, 1, 2, 3 years, you hear it all the time. They stop having sex. They start viewing their guy as like, they become so comfortable with their guy, and they just get like overwhelmed with kind of like the beta, kind of like too comfortable vibe from her guy. And so when that girl breaks up with that guy, she's always going to want the opposite of whatever she just experienced, right? So she's going to want the aspects in a guy that she feels like her boyfriend didn't have. So if her boyfriend ended up being like a lot like too comfortable and like they never had sex, like, or whatever, and usually relationships won't end if like there's a thriving sex life happening inside of it, unless somebody cheats or whatever. But that relationship will end, and she'll be looking for more of like a dominant kind of like alpha persona. And not only that, but she's likely not looking for something serious at the time. So if you're thinking about hitting on that girl, you're going to want to come from the point of view that she's likely looking for something casual, which also heightens wanting more of like a dominant kind of like, you know, like fuck boy kind of vibe from the guy that she's about to fuck. So yeah, I would say in these situations, neediness is going to be your biggest weakness. You just got to be like super straightforward and like super dominant in the way that you talk to her, and like, just like be very forward about it. You know, be very forward that you're not looking for a long-term relationship or anything like that. And like, and just try to get her to kind of open up about what she's looking for now. And then you can kind of just say, oh yeah, like that's exactly what I'm looking for too, you know?
Yeah. Oh, shopping buddy. I love shopping. But yeah, I agree with that. All right, so let's see what else we got. When is the PWF coming out? So it's already out. It's been out for about 2 months now. It's for members only right now. We might open it up at some point in the future, but right now, if you're playing with Fire Member, you can download the app in the App Store. Is it okay if you use the max number of characters in your profile description? If not, what's the max? Probably would not use the max number of characters. I know Tinder gives you quite a good amount, so I don't know what you're writing in there, like a story or something like that. But like a 50 Shades of Grey style, I don't know what's in there, but yeah, I don't think it's necessary. I don't have like a character limit. Like again, you don't want to get like overthink shit that doesn't matter. I don't think that part matters. Just have your profile be, so just look at the video I made on how to create the ultimate Tinder bio and just follow the principles in there. But the character amount is going to be largely irrelevant. No girl's ever been like, I really like this guy and he's kind of hot, but he had like 150 characters and that's like a total fucking deal breaker for me. Like I only go for guys with 140 characters or less, So a little humor to the situation. Would you ever consider doing a mentorship program? Possibly, maybe. It would just be very time intensive, and this is time that I just think that the mastermind model is superior because I can help more people. Like with mentorship, like I can only maybe do 2, 3, 4 people, and then like that's it, right? Like versus my reach is gonna be much better if I just kind of do it as like the mastermind type of member, where I teach people the basics, in the product. Well, I teach them everything in the product, and then we have a mastermind group where I'm active and other people are active, and then just like it's just a way to reach more people. But that being said, we are gonna have to cap the mastermind pretty soon because it is reaching that limit. So for example, right now we're looking into things like I'll share something with you guys actually that I was gonna not share for a while, is that we were looking to seeing if it's possible to do some kind of AI thing. So we can train a computer to like basically understand text game so that like for PWF members, like that's a resource. They have like an app that can actually like give them the same kind of feedback, hopefully even better than I can. But this is like a project that's way down the line. We're not even sure if it's like theoretically possible. So there's kind of stuff like that I have to take into account as I'm trying to scale. And I just feel like mentorship, like one-on-one mentorship, while it's a really good way to make money, it's just not really scalable. Like, my reach for that is not going to be that much. All right. Oh, I think this is actually a good question to mention that. So one thing that we are doing, though, for example, if you are a Playing with Fire member, you can do one-on-one coaching and mentorship with assistant coach. Like, for example, with you, like I know you're doing that with how many guys right now?
Oh, a bunch. It's probably been like 20 or 30 guys, something like that.
Yeah. So for example, like you have guys like Eli who I personally like trained and like, for your first few coaching calls, I was on there just making sure that your like feedback was on point, and then I'll give you feedback on your feedback. So and we might be training like another person in the future. So that is that is something that you have available like for people who are interested in that. But just doing like one-on-one mentorship with me, that would just be like not really practical in terms of scalability or new content. All right. Love that response, Eli. All right.
Thanks, Evan.
I understand what John is saying. Lay count isn't important at the same time. Yeah, I mean, I agree to an extent. It's a decent metric, but a big part of this is like what are you focused on in life? Like for example, my lay count could increase 5 times faster than it does now if my main priority was fucking girls. But it's like priority number 3 for me right now. Like I'm much more focused on fitness. I would say business, even maintaining relationships with current booty calls and friends, and just like cool experiences being there for like family and friends. Like fucking even hang out with my dog. Like I would say like racking up my lay count is like not even the top 5 priorities. So I think a big part of that is like a guy who really just like all he cares about is lay count. That's his main priority. Is going to be able to have a much higher count than someone who doesn't. But that's not to say that guy's better. It's just to say that it's one metric, but it's not like the end all be all. That's kind of my take on that. What do you think?
I agree. I think I feel like it's not as common anymore, but like guys definitely used to put a lot more stress on lay count. And I think now that like groups have kind of segregated a little bit more, and it seems that like there's a little bit less like intergroup communication where like guys are like testing the mettle of like other guys from other groups and shit. Like there seems to be a little bit less of that now. So like the lay count thing doesn't seem to be as big as before. But I mean, like straight up, if you have a lay count of fucking 1,300 or whatever J-Malt has, then like, yes, you are fucking good at game. You can get laid. You're obviously going to be like incredibly, like whatever you're saying, you should probably listen to that person. And then on the other extreme, if somebody's only fucked 10 girls, then it's like, yeah, you don't want to listen to that person. But then at the same time, though, I mean, it's just like you said, like, it depends what you're focusing on. If you are focusing on pumping up your lay count as high as possible and like you've made it your life to do that, then like, sure, man, go ahead. But like, I've got other shit to do. I think another big aspect is like, what kind of quality are you going for? Because anybody can fuck like 3s and 4s until like the fucking end of the world. But like, if you want actual quality and like sex that you feel good about and sex that you're happy with like 7s or above, then that's just not going to happen as often. It's just not. So yeah, I mean, it depends. If somebody has an insanely high lay count, then you should probably listen to what they say. But then if your lay count isn't like astronomically high, then like that person still could have good things to say.
I just feel like like, can you imagine like Hank Moody from Californication talking about his lay count?
Yeah.
Can you imagine like a really cool guy, like fucking, I'm trying to think who would be like, who's like a real life pimp? Like, can you imagine Russell Brand talking about his lay count? Never gonna fucking happen. Yeah. Can you imagine Russell Brand being like, his British accent, I just cracked 1,000. Like,
yeah, or like, so dorky. Like Darian has no fucking idea how many girls.
That guy has no idea what he's like, dude, I fuck a lot of girls. Like, that's my life. He's like,
yeah. Like, I mean, I get it. If you're a coach, if like your business revolves around telling people how to hook up with girls, then it's like these are your case studies. You have 1,300 case studies, and like that's what you're putting out there, and it's a selling point. Yeah,
for sure. All right. You know, one thing I will comment on that, the other extreme is guys who are like super, this also is like a pet, when I see like coaches who are like, go to end of the world to duck that question, like, oh, I don't like to give that information out. Like, I don't give a shit about lay count. Like, mine's somewhere between 300 and 450, 500. I don't give a shit. Like, I could care less whether you think that's high, whether you think that's low, or whatever you think about it. But like, so the two extremes are like people who obsess over lay count, or people who just like dodge that question like it's the end of the world. Like, I'm not going to answer that question. Like, why? Like, who gives a shit? All right, moving on. How do I change payment methods for the mastermind? It's a very technical question. All right, bro, let's share your credit card and we'll do it in real time. No, I mean, just PM me or any one of the guys. PM Indian P, whatever, and then we'll just take care of it one-on-one. It's possible. It's not a problem. All right, damn, I was very similar wavelength between relationships. Oh, my man Drew's on. All right. Is there an optimal time to text a girl who gets a lot of attention day a week? Yeah, I've heard this question. Not really. Like, you don't want to drive yourself crazy with like the details. Like, a common question I get is like, chick texting me, takes an hour to respond. Should I take exactly an hour, or is it cool if I text her like 45 minutes later? Like, you don't want to like drive yourself crazy with these irrelevant details. Like, general rule of thumb, don't text a girl at 3 a.m. Like, unless it's a booty call and she's gonna be up. Like, that's probably not the best time. But other than that, like, really does not matter. Like, we're getting into like, small, like, largely irrelevant details. What's your take on that?
I fully agree. Guys stress out about this kind of shit all the time. Sometimes I will take forever to respond to a girl. Sometimes I'll fucking insta respond to girls. Yeah. Like, the way that I see it is, I want to be talking to girls revolving around my schedule, and if it's convenient for me, then I will. I like to group my leads together. So if I'm texting 5 or 6 girls at the same time, then I'm basically going to fire out 5 or 6 texts, wait like an hour or whatever it is, and then wait for them all to respond, and then shoot out 5 or 6 texts again to all of them. So it's not like I'm fucking on my phone all day talking to girls, like one girl and then 5 minutes later another girl. Like, that's not how I want to do it. Like, I want to space it out so that it's like I can respond to as many girls as I can at the same time. And so what that's going to mean is that for some girls, I end up responding to them a lot faster. And for some girls, they have to wait longer for a response for me. And it kind of like, I guess it's a good thing too, because it kind of like randomizes it a little bit for them. Like they don't like, it's going to be different depending on like where they fall in that group. But that's how I like to structure my texting.
Yeah, I think that if you have a life, you're actually doing shit. You're not needy, and you have volume. Like all these problems are going to take care of themselves, like naturally. Really, like the only time this becomes an issue is that if you have nothing going, you're obsessed with one girl, then this could be something that you have to like consciously think about. But other than that, like this is a problem that should take care of itself. If you have a life, you have volume, you're texting more than one girl, and you're not obsessed about one. Like this is a problem that will just take care of itself. Speaking of plateaus, do you find that there are different times of the year that they're better, like summer versus holidays versus winter? I'm going through a dry spell. What do you think about that?
I've always found that summer is easier to hook up with chicks for sure, because they're just like out doing more stuff and like more willing to like go out later in the day if they have work in the morning or whatever. And it's just like it's just like easier, just because like I guess like they're in a better mood and like feeling more extroverted. So yeah, I have always found that summer's a little bit better. But I mean, it's the same as the previous question. If you're worrying about like what time of year it is, depending on like how hard you should be gaming girls or whatever, it's like, man, you have like other shit to think about. Like just game the girls the best that you can, regardless of what time of year it is. Like that shouldn't even be something. That's like going back to your lifting analogy. Like people are going to have success depending on different programs that they employ, but complaining about your genetics and what you have to start with and like what your genetic ceiling is, depending on like how jacked you can get, it's just a waste of time. Don't ever fucking worry about what your genetics are, because you can't control it. Same as the time of the year when you're texting girls. You can't control what time of year it is, and you've got months to wait until the next period. So you might as well just game girls the best that you can right now.
Yeah, I find that it shouldn't be. I'd have to really think about it to see if there is a better time for me or not. Like I do pretty well, like no matter what time of the year it is, what holiday. I think the only time that it is a little that I've noticed that it has been tricky is around Thanksgiving, because everyone is like fucking trying to make plans with their family. So Thanksgiving, I will say, can be a bit tricky. I think possibly also Christmas. Like with those two exceptions, a week on both of those, it's largely like irrelevant for me. That's what I've noticed. Why do so many chicks I met online have daddy issues? I don't know. There's some poor fathers out there, I guess. I don't know, or not giving their little girls the attention they deserve. And then these girls are turning to Tinder to meet their daddy needs. Yeah, that's my take on that.
That's a good thing.
Do you have a Facebook profile or an IG profile to follow? Yeah, so I'm not sure if this question is for me or you, but for Playing with Fire, it's @RealPlayingFire. And then what's the best way people can get in touch with you, man?
You can add me on Facebook, Eli Leroy. I don't really I have a shit Instagram, but I mean, you can follow me if you want. It's EL_Lee11 on Instagram.
All right, cool. Awesome. We'll link that in the description below afterwards. Do you do online stuff full time, or do you work 9 to 5 as well? Again, not sure who this is directed towards. Me personally, this is my full-time job, and then you have your own business, right?
Yeah, I do like online marketing shit, like Facebook advertising shit as well.
Yeah. All right. I like clubs, but I work at one, so it's a different experience. Yeah, for sure. If you work at a club, it is going to be a totally different experience. So that's like your job, you know. So yeah, definitely a different story. Clubs in Melbourne, a bit different to clubs in the States, though. I'm kind of curious in what way. I've never been to Australia. Probably just a lot.
People from Australia. I don't know I don't know, Dan, if like you're saying that this is a bad thing or that like clubs are shittier. No, I guess your previous comment was that you work in clubs, so you actually enjoy it. So I guess what you're saying is that it's better. But like, I don't know why, but people from Australia, or like Sydney specifically, complain that the chicks in Sydney are always so hard to get, and like it's just like everywhere you go, like the girls are so entitled and everything like that. And like, I don't think this applies to you, because I think you're actually saying that the clubs are more fun in Australia. But like, yeah, it's just something I noticed.
Dude, I remember this is a fun little side story where it was like right when I first got into game. I was probably like 22, 23. I was like, when I first moved to LA, I was out at this bar in Santa Monica and some randomly stumbled across this like fucking dude who was visiting from Australia. And this dude was like the epitypical like Australian. He had like a thick accent. He was just like total fucking mess, but he was like super alpha and super jacked. And then he was like for some reason we just like wound up. It was me, my buddy, and him. And he's like, oh man, this place sucks. It's closing down early. It's only 2 a.m. He's like, let's go to the strip club, boys. We're like, yeah, like it's kind of expensive. He's like, oh, you fucking tight asses. Like, it's on me. We're like, yeah, but it's getting kind of late. He's like, oh, don't be a wanker. Like, I'm like, all right. He's like, fucking go to the strip club with this guy. He's just like fucking like just throwing 20s, just like going crazy, like chugging beers. He's like, oh, can I order 3 beers at a time? Like, oh, for all of you guys? No, that's just for me. Like, what do you want, boys? Like, this guy's going crazy. At the end of the night, he almost got into a fight with someone. It's just like, this guy was fucking epic. So that was like my experience with Australia. Holy shit, this guy.
Aussies can be fucking awesome.
All right, Tim, I'm not sure what that means. How do you respond to I'm trouble following the hate trouble line? Yes, at least a bit, I hope. Okay, so Eli, what was the one main way you learned how the messages worked? A lot of trial and error or changes in mindset?
I don't know. I like to do a lot of reading. So like, I don't like recommending red pill shit because I find that the red pill community can be so fucking bitter and they can be like such like miserable pieces of shit about the shit that they're saying about women. And women can be like some of the most beautiful experiences that you have in your life. But they can also fucking sewer guys as well. Absolutely. So I've done a lot of reading just in terms of like red pill, whether it's from like Rational Male or like Chateau Hartif. If you guys have ever read that shit, that guy is a fucking boss. They actually, WordPress closed down his domain from their site and like just like canceled everything that he had because like it was too far to the right or whatever. But Chateau Hartis, I'm sure you can find it somewhere else. Like, so a big thing for me was like, as I was getting into text game, I was learning the theory about why certain things worked. So I would be employing the lines, but at the same time, I would be reading in the background about like why women respond a certain way to different types of guys, and basically like how they have these two different kinds of attraction, where it's like they're attracted to the provider type, and then they're attracted to like the Chad kind of like alpha, like the sex appeal of guys as well. And so that kind of illuminated a lot of different things for me, where it's like, when you're talking to a girl, you're basically signaling to her that you are a certain percentage of either of those things. Like it's a spectrum, and you fall somewhere in the spectrum. And like guys, when they first come into the program, they see a lot of this like super dominant texting that they've never experienced before. And I think it can be really dangerous because they end up thinking that they have to be like this fucking hard ass all the time. And they have to be like so ridiculously stubborn about maintaining their frame that they end up just like being like a hard person to talk to, when a lot of it comes down to like being just a cool guy and like simplifying your texting and just not being a weirdo. But yeah, so many guys come in like so far to the provider side of the spectrum. And then as they go forward through the program, like, and they see all this shit that starts working, they go so far to the other side where they become like so intense and like they need to be dominant and they need to be like holding the frame all the time. When I think it needs to be like kind of 80-20. Like you need to be kind of like 80% alpha, but then like 20% you just like soften yourself a little bit. So yeah, kind of a tangent, but like
you need to be a normal, decent human being. Like some guys are like, this chick told me she got COVID. How do I pass the shit test? Dude, just tell her to feel better, man. Like it's like, you know what I mean? Like a lot of it is like they're like fucking go hard on her. I didn't take you for the flaky type. Like, dude, like this chick is fucking like coughing up a storm. Like I don't know. Like some of it is just like using common sense. Also, I would say.
Yeah, but yeah, anyway, I agree with that. But back to the question, how I learned why the messages work is kind of the same thing that I was saying before. Reps. Like when it comes to texting girls, it's a skill, right? and you need to get a lot of practice in with that skill. If you're not getting a lot of matches, or like you're just not getting a lot of experience, then you're just going to learn slower. That's why the learning curve is often steep for guys that come in and like they don't have a lot of opportunity to begin with, and then they don't get as many reps as maybe somebody who's like a little bit better looking would. So one thing that I recommend for guys is like try helping out other guys in the group. Okay, if you have friends that are texting girls, like try helping out them too. Just get as many reps in as possible. It's like learning any kind of sport or athletic skill or anything else that you do in your life. You need to get there used to be the fucking 10,000 hours in or whatever, which is like turned out to be largely bullshit. But like, well, it's like it ended up being more of a correlation than a causation.
Oh,
right.
Okay. That was by Malcolm Gladwell, right? Who said that?
Yeah. Well, no, he expanded on the idea, but it was another guy that came up with it. But anyway, you need to get your reps in, right? And if you're not getting enough reps in with your matches alone, then go and help other guys in the group, right? They don't have to go, like, you don't need to expect them to use your lines, and don't be butthurt if they don't use your lines or say that they're not into it or whatever. But you're going to improve way, way faster if you are putting yourself out there and trying to handle all the tricky situations that other guys are getting into.
Yeah, I would say that to kind of sum up, for me, it was a lot of it was trial and error. Like I didn't have Playing with Fire when I was learning text game. There were some resources that were good, which I always shut out. Like supertheworld.com was a big inspiration for me. Revolutionary Lifestyle Design to a small extent. I don't really like the new direction he's gone in, but his older stuff for sure. So there's like I definitely had sources of inspiration, but I didn't have like a full, complete thing to teach me, everything A to Z. A lot of it was just trial and error and just trying shit, seeing if it worked or not. And then I would say my learning significantly went 10x when I started coaching people, because then I was able to use their reference experiences as well to I didn't really write the product. I started writing the product till I had done I would say over 50 to 100 coaching sessions. That's when I felt confident enough in the information I had to actually make a product out of it.
Yeah, man. And if I had to say, I would say that's the reason why your product is so fucking good as well, is because like you learn this shit through trial and error, and you didn't learn it from somebody else. It's the same thing that we were talking about before, where if you are learning from somebody else, it's so easy to kind of like get stuck in their style, right? But if you are learning through trial and error, then it's much more likely that you're going to develop your own voice as you come through. And like, if you're making a fucking product that like people are going to love, then you have to have your own voice.
Yeah, I would say it's like it should be like something like 50-50. Like there's no need to ever reinvent the wheel. Like, especially nowadays, like like if I'm trying to learn like internet marketing, like I am gonna do research. I'm not gonna try to just figure it out on my own. But at the same time, I'm also gonna try shit and see how it works. I'm not afraid to try shit and have it fail. I think willingness to fail is huge. All right. How soon after do you usually message someone when meeting them in real life, cold approach a social circle? Right away, like 5, 10, 20 minutes later. Like you don't want, I just send them my name. Like you don't want them. A common mistake guys make is they wait 2 days and the person forgets who the fuck they are. Like, like girls don't like remember that cute guy they talked to for 3 minutes, like 3 days ago, So I just send them my name like right afterwards, right? And then, It's also a good indicator of how well it went, how much they respond when you send them the name. Do they completely ignore you? Do they give you a one-word answer, or do they give you like 5 sentences? So that's a good way of getting instant feedback on how into you the chick is. All right, girl after a while wanted to move convo to WhatsApp. She found my WhatsApp and said hi. I replied, "Hey, potential lover." She said bye. Now I wanted to communicate with you. No, that's super awkward. This chick sounds like a giant weirdo. Just don't even think into it. Just next. She just sounds like a giant weirdo. I would probably troll her. I would say, okay, you seem very reasonable. Okay, so can you do a quick rundown on how to set up the first date straight to your house? Do you want to take this one, man? Yeah.
So I will always pitch a first date straight to the house. Generally, I mean, like, there's exceptions where if a girl is basically saying like she's not down for casual hookups and I've given off too much of like a fuckboy vibe already, something like that, then like maybe, but I can tell that she's gonna be down to fuck soon. Then I might go like straight for drinks, something like that. But if I'm setting up a date straight to the house, then same as I said before, you want to be very casual and very chill about it, and you want to kind of hide the pitch straight to the house using humor. Okay, like a little bit of kind of like dry humor. So you would be talking to a girl, whatever, the conversation gets to a high point, and then it kind of like stops. There's like a lull in the conversation a little bit. Ask her, do you like wine? She says, yes, I love wine, because every girl does, and that's why that line is so great. And then you say, perfect, well, we should split a bottle sometime. And then she says, yeah, we should. And then you say, great, when are you free? And then she says a time that she's free. And then you can either say this now. I've played around with it. I've kind of gotten similar results the same way, like similar results depending on what it is. But you can say, great, I'll pick up a bottle, and we can split it on my super romantic patio. So the way you say super romantic patio is so amazing, because it's like you're kind of like hiding the date in like this very chill but kind of like sarcastically dry humor, like super romantic thing. I don't like as much that like a lot of guys right now are using romantic very literally, and they're like, oh, come to my like very romantic, like my romantic balcony. Like they're always using romantic. Super romantic is supposed to be a joke. Like you're supposed to be like,
that's what they're missing. It's like I don't know, it's like a troll statement or something like that.
Yeah, girls are not looking for a romantic date on the first date. They just are not. Like they want a very chill, relaxed date with somebody where they feel like it's going to be low pressure. And when you say like wine on my super romantic patio, it just sounds like the most fucking chill thing in the world. I remember when I first read that line, going through your lay reports I stumbled across it on fucking Reddit, going through the lay reports and seeing like super romantic patio. I'm like, that's fucking genius, man. Like it's honestly like such a good line. Anyway, so I'll play around. I'll either go, great, I'll pick up a bottle and we can split it on my super romantic patio. And then like she'll either give an objection or she'll agree. The other thing that you can do is say, great, shoot me your number. Don't get her number before you set the date, unless she's like being super unresponsive on the dating app and says that like she's not on there very often or whatever. Unless it like really makes sense to move to text. I really don't like moving to text before the date is set.
You know, one thing I want to just really comment while we're on this topic, this is something I discovered actually very recently in the past few months. That is true with the exception of if it's a fob Latina. I've noticed that with fob Latina girls, they're going to give you these one-word answers on Tinder. As soon as you move into WhatsApp, they're fucking telling you about their kids, their like everything.
Yeah.
I'm just literally, when I get a fob Latina, like 4 lines back and forth, moving into WhatsApp.
Nice. I to be honest, I don't have a ton of experience with fob Latinos because like there aren't any in Vancouver, but I can definitely see how that could be the case. Anyway, so what I either pitch the wine date on your super romantic patio right then and there, or I'll say, great, shoot me your number, and just like say, hey, it's Brad from the thing or whatever. And then like just like a couple exchanges. And then on the day of the date that you guys have agreed on, then it's basically like you say, hey, are we still good for 8 tonight or whatever your line is? And then she says, yes, what do you want to do? And then you can say like on the day there, like, I'll pick up a bottle and we can split it on my super romantic patio. Just because I've found that sometimes girls, like if you pitch the super romantic patio multiple days in advance, then sometimes they get like cold feet or whatever, or they're way more likely to flake. But if you get them on the day and they're like expecting a date and like so they can't flake because like you're already confirming it with them, and then at that time you say, let's meet on my super romantic patio, then it's like she kind of can't flake anymore because it's already like, you know, you're already confirming the date and it's like on the day.
Well, she can, but it's harder.
Sorry?
She can, but it's harder. It's harder for her to flake.
Yeah. Of course you can still flake. Girls can always flake.
You're like, you can't flake. It's the day of the day. No flaking allowed.
Yeah, so sometimes I like to do it on the actual day because then it's less likely that she gets cold feet, and then I can deal with the objections of her coming straight over on the day when the date is already decided and everything's confirmed.
Yeah, makes sense. Just a simplified version of that is I'll literally, yeah, pretty much exactly what you said. I'll ask them, do you like wine? I just assume that's going to be at my place. And then if I get pushback, then I'll figure out why. And then I'll, usually meet her in public, but only if there is pushback. All right. So what does your training program look like? Favorite compound movement into Olympic lifts? So I would say that my program is I train. So I'm going to share a few things I've discovered that worked well for me. I noticed that I can lift like 20-30% more weight if I'm training on an empty stomach. So I always train before I eat. So I usually wake up with the crack of 1 p.m., by 2-3 p.m. at the gym, something along the lines of that. So always training on empty stomach, but I do take BCAAs and creatine beforehand. So that kind of helps with the negate.
Don't take BCAAs anymore, man. It's all about EAAs.
What's
BCAAs,
that?
So BCAAs are 3 of the 9 amino acids. Okay. Uh-huh. And it's like leucine, something else, and something else. EAAs are all 9 essentially
amino acids. I have all 9 in there. Yeah.
But BCAAs are like largely garbage because it's only those 3 essential amino acids, whereas EAAs are going to be so much more supportive for muscle growth because they have the actual full 9 essential amino acids.
Yeah, dude, I noticed today when I was training, I don't know, this could be other factors, but I noticed that I actually doubled my dose of EAAs. I went from the whatever recommended dose to 2x that, and like my lifts were like 15-20% stronger.
Yeah, man, taking that shit before you work out is going to be great. Yeah, it definitely helps. One benefit about BCAAs, and like part of the reason that a lot of people like taking them, is because a lot of BCAAs have beta alanine in it at the same time. Like they put like small amounts of beta alanine in the BCAAs, which doesn't actually do anything for you, but it makes your body feel like a little bit tingly. And so people feel like they're more ready to work out. It's like a little bit of a placebo thing. But yeah, that's why people like BCAAs.
So another thing I've discovered is I separate my workouts into 3 days. So I have my first day, which will be goblet squats, incline presses, lateral raises, and I'll train also. I'll do like side delt cable raises. That's day 1. Day 2 will be another type of a leg workout. Then I'll do pull-ups. Then I'll do dips. Then I'll usually hit. On day 1 I'll also hit like internal press, and then I'll hit what's it called? And biceps, like bicep barbell curls. And then day 3 will be like, the remaining stuff. I'll hit triceps, I'll hit bent over barbell rows, stuff like that. But basically a key component of my thing is that I usually have 2 big lifts that I'm doing every day, and they're usually my second and third lift. So my first lift will be something like legs, right? To kind of warm myself up, right? And I found that if I do it that way, I can really max out the key lifts. So my key lifts will be like incline presses, pull-ups, dips, like bend over barbell rows, like the key things that really are what I'm going for. And then after that, once I really use most of my energy on that, then it'll be like the let's say secondary lifts, like whatever, like internal presses or whatever, like lateral raises, stuff that are important that you need to do, but stuff that's not like going to be the absolute like game changers. So that's one thing I found that has worked well for me. And then I do 3 days, and then I restart. And then I take 7th day off. So I do 3 days and then restart 3 days and then take 1 day off. Typically, that's how my workouts will look. I like to rest 1 day a week. But I've also been lifting for a while. I think that if you're just getting started, you're going to need more of a rest than that. You're going to need at least 2-3 days off. But if you've been lifting for a long time, I think you're okay with 1 day off. A lot of this also comes down to just what works well for you. Another thing I really try to focus on is I try to focus on just really visualizing the muscle and just really feeling the muscle burn. So I try to be like very present. It's like almost like a form of meditation. I try to keep the rep. If I can't lift the weight at least for 7 reps, then the weight is too heavy for me. So I'm not doing like 1 rep maxes or 3-4 or something like that. I feel like that's just, you're not really accomplishing much. It's more like strength, but you're not actually getting muscle growth. So if I can do it 12 times, then it's time for me to move up in weight. If I can't do it 7 times, then drop the weight. So that's like a very rough idea. Do you have anything to add to that?
The only thing that I would say is it really depends where in your lifting journey you are. Like if you're asking what our training program looks like me and you are pretty advanced by this time. So it's like what I would recommend for somebody who's just getting into lifting would look nothing like what I'm doing right now. And I've just written an article on the optimal beginner program. So if you are a beginner, then you need to be doing full body workouts. Okay, where they focus around compound lifts. So what I wrote up was an A-B split. So you've got 2 different workouts. They're both full body. In the first workout, you're going to do a pressing motion with your legs, so like squat, and then a horizontal press and a horizontal push. Compound, so that's like a bench press and then a row are the most common ones. In the second workout, you're going to do a pulling motion from the legs, so like a deadlift or a Romanian deadlift, something like that, and then a vertical pull, like a pull-up, and then a vertical press, like a military press or shoulder press. Okay, so there's those 6 movement patterns, and you're breaking them up into 2 different workouts, and you just alternate doing those 2 workouts with like a day in between, where each workout, you're attributing 1 exercise to the entire movement pattern, and then doing like 3 sets of 8 to 10. But what you're focusing on is progressive overload. And the reason that's set up this way without like a ton of accessory bullshit or anything like that, it's very compound focused so that you excel at the compounds very quickly. Okay, you're getting good at the compound movements really, really quickly. You're creating the foundation and the work capacity that you need to move into a more advanced program later on. But it's the ideal program for getting as good at the compound lifts as fast as possible. Because if you're doing like a body part split where it's like chest, back, shoulders, legs, arms, then it's like you're doing like maybe each compound lift once a week. When you're a beginner, you can progress on the compound lifts basically every single time that you do them. So you want to do them more often and get good at those compound lifts really quickly. And then, eat a fuck ton. Eat a lot of protein.
Yeah, I would also say that a big thing is that you got to be getting progressively stronger on key lifts, like on compound lifts. Absolutely. So if you're going to the gym, I find this like, I'll share a quick story about Indian P. So I remember the first time me and him went to the gym together in Colombia, he was like telling me about like this crazy shit he was doing. Like he's like, I'm doing like the fucking drop set. I'm like, I don't even know like what half of these technical terms mean, but like I'm like, what's your like, what's like your baseline? What's your like, how much can you bench press? He's like, well, I don't know, I'm like, what were you bench pressing like a few months ago when you started? He's like, well, probably about the same. I was like, so you made like 0 progress since you started lifting at all? He's like, well, he's like trying to explain it to me. I was like, it sounds like you made 0 progress. And then I was like, dude, just take this weight, lift it as many times as you can, and do that like 5 times. And he's like, holy shit, like actually I feel my muscles working. I'm like, congratulations, it's the first real workout. So I think guys like try to overcomplicate this stuff a lot, but it really comes down to being progressively stronger in key lifts. That's like a huge part of it. If you're not making, again, there's gonna be plateaus, but if your journey isn't like this, then something is off. Have you ever gone to Argentina? Every Argentina that traveling's hot. They're like skinny club. Yeah, Argentinian girls are hot. No, I've never been there. I've not. Have you been there?
No.
It's a cool. I want to visit. I want to try some of your grass-fed beef.
I definitely want to go. Yeah.
Yeah. What is the best way to start a conversation? Depends on the context. Where are we talking about a dating app? We're talking about in real life. I think if you go up to a girl in real life and you're like, "Hey, trouble," you're gonna she's gonna get creeped out or something.
Hey, future lover.
Hey, potential lover. If you really say it with confidence, could work. But it just really depends on the context. But check out the article. I have a video, the best Tinder openers. I have an article on that. So yeah, just check that out. What is the easiest way to take control of frame in text game and day game? Take control. Okay, so this is do you want to take a crack at this one?
Yeah. So I would say don't even think about the frame, dude. Don't think about, I have to maintain the frame. I have to bring this back into my frame, whatever. Like, I find that guys, and don't get me wrong, it is important. You have to hold frame. Absolutely. But I find that guys get so stuck in their head about maintaining frame and kind of taking control of the frame that they become like overly sensitive of the frame. And they're like, they take everything that she ever says and they're like, oh, she's like trying to take the frame away from me. Like I have to like hold strong and like, like nag the shit out of her or whatever to get my frame back. So what I would say for most guys coming in and like if they're learning text game is to understand the nuances of frame and understand why it's important, but then try not to get stuck in your head about thinking about frame all the time because you become very kind of entrenched in this way of thinking where you're no longer just having a normal conversation and being a cool guy, which is like my number one piece of advice. You end up being this like game robot that's constantly trying to like use tactics to like bring it back to like their side, and like it's just like it's too much. Now, with that said, the easiest ways to take control of the frame are to employ standards, right? So whoever has the highest standards in the conversation is going to be the person who owns the frame. So what ends up happening is when guys are talking to girls, they are usually going to be like, have a super low standard. So like, oh, she wants to meet near her place. Oh, she wants to meet 7 times before we have sex. Oh, she wants to fucking like respond once every 3 days with 1 word. Like, oh, totally fine. I'm just going to like play along with all of that. No problem. So she completely owns the frame because she has higher standards for what she'll kind of accept in the conversation. And you have much lower standards for what you'll accept. So you're accepting her behavior and they fall within kind of your boundaries of standards. So the best way to control the frame is to have like very clear laid out standards for yourself and to kind of like stick to those standards. And if a girl is not meeting your standards, or she crosses the line, or she goes over the boundary in some way that doesn't live up to your standards, then you need to kind of like call her out on that. But not in a butthurt way, not in a way where you're like emotional about it, but where you very calmly kind of tell her that she is not meeting your standards right now.
I also think a big part of it is leading. Whoever's leading is going to have control of the frame. So you want to just be leading and moving things forward. Like if you're like real trying to get her to do everything for you, then she's probably going to be in charge of the frame. But yeah, I generally agree with that. They're also hungry for the D. All right. Getting past the small talk. Okay, I'm not really sure what that's referring to. Minneapolis is like Boston, just too cold here. Yes, sir. Agreed. Ever been to San Diego? Just joined. I've been there like as a tourist. I've been there for like 3-4 days at a time. It seems like a cool city. I preferred LA actually at the time. This was when I was like around 23, 24. But it's a cool city. The competition there is pretty stiff if you're a guy because there's like a lot of military there. So you got like a lot of like super jacked Navy SEALs like fucking running shirtless on the beach. So I think it's probably if you're a chick, it's probably like a really good place to live. Yeah, but like fucking endless options. If you think observational pro would just go direct, if you can't think of an observational pro would just go direct cold approach, yeah, I would. If I can't think of that, I would just say like, hey, it's just kind of random, but I thought you were cute. I just want to say hi. Like I'm Alex, like something like that. Yeah, I would. Covered in goo and AC fluids. Budapest is in Hungary is easy to get laid in with tourists and locals. Probably top 3 easiest that I've been to. Yeah, Budapest was cool. Have you ever been there?
Nope, haven't been to Europe.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Budapest is a cool city. I would go back there. Pros and cons. I thought the clubs there were just a little bit too much. It's just like way too many PUAs there and shit like that. But for day game and for online, it's like pretty epic. Dude, honestly, walking around Budapest, just like stunners just walking around like all the time during the daytime.
Yeah.
It's official. Like, I'd visit Miami to see what the hype is about. All right. Thanks a lot to both of you for answering every single question so detailed. There, you guys seem like awesome coaches. Great live stream. Thanks, man. Much appreciated.
Thanks, Brad.
How would you respond in a very start of an interaction? Girl asked before we go any further, what are you looking? Who are you voting for president? Also, dude, I've actually never had that happen. I would probably give her a troll answer. I would say my dog.
Yeah, definitely, because what this girl is doing when she's asking who are you voting for president, she's basically giving you an ultimatum. You can give the right answer, right? Where like, oh, now it's okay. You gave the right answer. I'll talk to you. Or you can give the wrong answer where she's like unmatches you or whatever. So like what you don't want to do is play her fucking game, right? Like it's a hidden shit test. It's not like a direct shit test because like she thinks that she's doing this for like, you know, to support her cause or whatever, but like in reality she's just like a virtue signaling bitch.
Like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go to Tinder to fucking get my desired candidate to win. That seems like a really good political strategy, you know, like you know what, I'm gonna get all these guys on Tinder who want to fuck me to vote for my desired candidate.
Yeah, so the number one thing that you don't want to do is to answer it honestly.
Yeah.
Outside of that, you can kind of like, you can either like call her out on it, like oh, does my answer, or like, oh, does our relationship depend on my answer? Or like you said, so like, oh, definitely my dog. Or like, say I'm actually running for president, or like something like.
Yeah, I'm actually running for president. Are you gonna vote for me? Like,
whatever you do, don't answer it honestly or like legitimately.
Yeah, 100% agreed. How do you get girls on Snapchat? I don't think.
Do not get them on Snapchat.
Any man who has a life should just. I think Snapchat's a waste of time. The one exception I talked about this, if you're like a promoter and stuff like that. But aside from that, I think that there's no point in bothering with Snapchat. Do you have Snapchat, dude?
I have it, but I never fucking use it.
Yeah, I think Instagram is a lot better. I use Instagram for like if a girl wants to like whatever. I'm not gonna meet her for a while, or she wants to make sure I'm not catfish. I'll send her my Instagram. I think that's a lot better. The flies are disturbing me. When texting, how many times will you let a girl ghost you before giving up on her? What's your rule on this?
My rule is, so I consider two different things. First, how hot is she? Is she like fucking drop dead gorgeous? Then I'm gonna have more persistence. And then how DTF is she? Right? Is it like you haven't even set a date yet and like you're just trying to get a conversation going and like she's just like not responding to your, then it's like, I don't give a fuck about this girl. Like, I'm not going to waste any more time. But like, if you have been like full on, like full blown sexting and like she is like fully like agreed that when you meet, you're going to fuck and like she just keeps being flaky or whatever, then it's like, you're going to be a little bit more persistent for that because you know that if you can just get her out, then you guys are going to fuck, especially if she's a little bit hotter, you know, because then she's high in both of those categories, then you can be a little bit more persistent. But if she is not very hot, or if she has not displayed that she's clearly DTF, then I'm going to have way, way less persistence. Like trying to get like some 7 out on a date where the date hasn't even been sexualized yet or whatever. It's just like, I don't have time for it. Like, I'm not going to bother.
Yeah, what I've noticed is that some of the hottest girls I've hooked up with on dating apps required like a little bit more persistence. Like it wasn't like I didn't get them like, you know, it wasn't like smooth sailing. It required a few times for me to re-engage and kind of persevere. But then again, if it's like a constant pattern, like by second or third time, I'll call it out. Like I'll literally say, look, if you're not into this, I can stop trying, and I'll like kind of gauge your interest. You know, so I'll call it out like after a while. But you know, I'm not gonna waste my time. It comes down to being an educated guest. How hot is the girl? How DTF she is? Like all these factors play into it. I'm 19 years and I'm 6'1", but 270 pounds. I'm losing weight and gonna get my muscle up once at 210 on Tinder right now. But if you match the stress, stay on Tinder for a while I'm looking feeling well. There's no harm to you staying on Tinder, right? You have nothing to lose. So there's really no loss. Like, you know, it takes 30 seconds in the morning to check your matches.
Yeah, it's the same as I was talking about before, man. Getting good at this shit takes reps, right? And so if you were gonna wait, you want to get to 210 and you're at 270, like how fucking long is that gonna take, dude? I mean, I commend you for the journey, but that is a long journey to go. And if you were gonna wait until you were at your ideal body to like go out there and start looking, then like you're gonna be wasting your life away, man. Get out there, get those reps. You're gonna get good. Like there's good results to be had even when you don't have your perfect body. But like you have to get these reps in, man. Like get better. There's
no downside, even if you're getting one match a week, there's no downside staying on Tinder. I would say also don't wait until you get to 210 to start building muscle, because building muscle isn't something that happens overnight. I would do heavy compound lifting now while I'm losing weight. Losing weight really comes down to calories in, calories out. So just follow a calorie deficit, and lift weights. Obviously, you're not going to hit your maxes because you're in a calorie deficit, but still better than nothing. So I would do that personally. Best way of framing the home date if you don't drink. I could make you a Shirley Temple or something like that, or we can just whatever. We can watch a movie if you're into that. I personally don't really do movie dates, but I'd say we can just whatever. I'll make you a Shirley Temple. We'll just hang out. I'll pour you a nice cup of water or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, some guys in the group don't drink, and one thing that's worked well for them is just to pitch the wine date anyway. And then when she gets to your house, then you pour her a glass of wine and you just pour yourself a glass of ginger ale and be like, I actually don't drink, but you should have some. She's already at your house at that point, you know, I don't know, just so it doesn't matter at that point. And girls usually will not care. They'll either say oh, okay, sure, I'll drink some wine. Or they'll say like, oh no, I don't want to drink if you're not. And then it's like, fine, here, have some ginger ale. Like it's not a big deal.
Yeah, it's not a big deal if you don't make it a big deal. Would your go-to date still be at your place if you live in country area where things are far away and there aren't many bars around? Yes, it would be. All right, guys, we've been gone for an hour and a half, so we're gonna go for like another 15 minutes or so, and then we're like literally only halfway through all the questions we have, but we'll try to go through for the next 15 minutes. We'll try to go through these like pretty rapid fire. Message: tattoos, kids, prison. Her reply included she has tattoos, so I asked where they're located. She replies, "Excuse me, but what do my tattoos have anything to do with this conversation?" What? Sounds like you're getting a lot of weirdos, man. I would just respond back with everything. Like literally, like I wouldn't dignify with that with a real response. What do you think?
First off, that line, tattoos, kids, prison. I'm usually not too huge on it in general because I find that guys kind of use it as like a desperation line, or they use it like so out of context. And when I do use it, I want to use it to like actually create a little bit of like sexual intrigue. So tattoos, kids, or fun kinks is what I would prefer, rather than like tattoos, kids, or prison. But then if she replies, "Excuse me, but what do my tattoos have anything to do with this conversation?" then I would just say something like, "Sorry for trying to make some casual conversation," or something like that. Like that's so out of line on her part to say that. Like, what are my tattoos? Or she's saying that because there's actually like some reason that tattoos are like kind of like a faux pas topic for her. So like, you could try to get to the bottom of her objection or whatever is happening, like by showing a little bit of empathy is if you want to go a different route and just being like, oh, it sounds like you might have some tattoos you regret or something like that.
Yeah, but that's probably only like 5 to 10% of the time. Most likely she's
just being a bitch. Yeah.
What's an ideal percentage for converting numbers dates from day game? I feel like a lot more odds on having good interaction than great text game. Yeah, for sure. Once day game, the initial interaction is huge. You can have the best text game ever. If she doesn't thought you were awkward, it's not going to go anywhere. What's the ideal percentage for converting numbers? Again, I find that there's no such thing. It depends on do you approach only girls who give you IOIs, or do you approach everyone? Do you approach girls who are below you in attractiveness? Do you approach girls who are above you in attractiveness? What country do you live in? Like what how long are your interactions? Like there's all these factors that just play into this. So there's really no such thing as ideal percentage. I can tell you what is for me. I don't know. I would say it's probably like something like 10% or something like that. Honestly, like guys think it's going to be like 50, 60%. It's not like 10, 15% or something like that. The numbers you get, are going to end up in dates. A lot of them are just going to fizzle out for whatever reason. I would say maybe like 20%, but it's not going to be more. It's not going to be like 50% or something like that. All right, let's do a few more questions. Haha, I posted one of those. You're not a douchebag after all comments. Thank you kindly, my favorite female fan. All right. Why would a woman need advice on Tinder? It must be over 27 or overweight. Over 27? That's like the benchmark, over 27. Well, yeah, most of the time the chick is it's either she's not that attractive or she's not just having her expectations met. Like maybe she wants a relationship, but she's just having all these guys that just want to fuck her once and bounce. So it's gonna be one of those two things. For some reason on Hinge, I'm getting a ton of young. Okay, that's good. This question goes on. Let me try again. For some reason on Hinge, I'm getting a ton of young black chicks who attract to me. I don't know why. I'm very white, by the way, so this is a big surprise for me online. Yeah, I don't
might know. Just have something to do with your demographics, where you live. I don't know.
Yeah, where you live. Maybe it's like I don't know, like a predominantly black city or something like that. Or I think there could be any number of things. I open with you're just my type. She responded with you have good taste. What would you recommend in that situation? I would probably say like that makes two of us with a winky face.
Yeah. Or I would just like carry on with like whatever routine. I'm sure you have some follow up that you use. Like whatever routine that you're going with, you can just say like, cute and curvy with a bit of a wild side or something like that. Like just carry on.
Yeah. I would probably not jump into that right away, but I would say like I would just kind of touch on that. I would probably be like, thanks. I could say the same thing about you, something along the lines of that. just kind of establish the fact that she likes you as well. Great work. Thank you, sir. Because more and more. Okay. Match for the girl last night Tinder. And there's purple lighting icon on her profile. I Googled it and says that for matches during boost, I have free count there boost. So why is that? I don't know. Does it really matter? Honestly, like who gives a shit? Tinder's a fairly glitchy app, so sometimes glitchy shit will happen. I wouldn't even really think it. I wouldn't even notice that, to be honest. Eli, what do you think of RSD Sarah? RSD philosophy?
I don't know who RSD Sarah is.
She's like the female coach that joined RSD.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know who it is. I feel like I've heard of her before, but to be honest, I haven't followed RSD in so long that I don't know. Back in the day, they used to put out some good shit. Like some of their hot seats and like presentations that they would definitely give like good mindset. I never thought that their game was actually that good. Like their infield never impressed me too much because like their infield was just like, it was so kind of like cherry picked and like you take the highlights, and I just thought that like anybody can get the highlights. But like I did like some of the things that they would teach you about kind of having this like a non-outcome oriented state of mind where it's outcome independent, where you're not worried about what's going to happen and you're kind of just like going into it. They used to fucking say this all the time, like do it for the reference experience, which was like so overblown, but at the same time, it did have some merit inside of it where you're not going into it to kind of get whatever outcome. You're not going into to get her number or to sleep with her or whatever. You're going into it for the experience of just like, you know, like finding out what's going to happen. Like you're very exploratory in the way that you're going about your game. And so I like that aspect of it.
Yeah, I would say I'm not familiar with RSD Sarah at all. She joined the RSD by the time I was totally not following them, so I can't comment. RSD philosophy, it used to be somewhat decent. Now it's total dog shit.
Now it's shit, yeah.
Yeah, they've gone hardcore, like, oh, we're going to play it safe. We're pretend it's all about self-development, blah, blah, blah. One thing I still can't figure out is why is RSD Tyler so ugly? Meaning, like, he has all this money now. He can get a personal trainer. He can get on TRT. He can get fucking hair transplant and all that shit. So just to me, that makes no sense. I think these are the deep questions that no one asks. All right, so, but it's always been that way for white men. No white man with decent game ever struggled with black men. Well, white men aren't usually trying to bang black men. I think he means black women. Yeah, I'm assuming it's that. Yeah, I mean, I'm not really sure. I actually do have an answer for that, but I feel like it could get me banned off YouTube. So we'll save that one. I do have a theory on that, but anyway, yeah, I'm sure you can probably figure out what I'm thinking. Okay, one clarification. All right, let's just do like one or two more questions. How do you make her chase you? Again, that's focusing on the wrong thing. My goal is never to make the girl chase me. That's not really where my mind is at. I'm thinking about, okay, how can I move things forward and bang her, right? I'm not thinking, okay, how do I triple doggy backflip qualify her and then make her chase me, stuff like that. Okay. I watched the video about messaging a girl back when they're kind of flaky, ignoring device definitely worked. Thanks, man. Glad to hear. Will there be a PWF in-person retreat or mastermind in-person hangout once Corona is done? Of course, yes, there will be. I want to do something I'm thinking Medellin, Colombia. It's going to be a PWF summit, and I do have pretty big plans for that, but it's still going to be ways down. I was hoping to do it in this fall, but honestly, I'm not sure if that's going to be possible with Corona and all that. So it's going to happen when I would say within a year for sure. And then let's do last question. This is directed to you, sir. Eli, how to punish non-compliant over text? For example, I text the girl saying my number with hearts and sprinkles around it, and she responds, haha, that's going to happen. That's not going to happen. Maybe later on.
So when you get non-compliance, you just have to respond with being as kind of like non-butthurt as possible, okay? And you don't want to kind of like stick to the same thread and like try to convince her and like ask her why or whatever. Like, who gives a fuck if she's not saving your name with hearts and sprinkles? Like, whatever. Like, you basically just want to like make a little joke, like have some humor and show that you're as non-butthurt as possible. So just say something like breaking my heart, whatever her name is. And that's really good because it's like, it's obviously like you're exaggerating a little bit. Your heart's not broken, but at the same time, you're kind of just teasing her a little bit for not being compliant. Basically, when a girl is not giving you compliance, the same thing as I was talking about before, as how so many guys get so stuck in their head about like controlling the frame and like being so sensitive about the frame. Like if that happened, they would think like, oh, the girl has the frame now. Like I need to fucking like employ all this like insane like texting backflip shit in order to get the frame back. Like, no, like don't worry about it. Ideally, by the time you have her number, a date's already set anyway. So like if she's saying like, haha, that's not gonna happen maybe later on, then like I wouldn't fucking do that for a girl either. Like, I mean, like, whatever. You just say breaking my heart, whatever, move on.
What you say hearts and sprinkles? I think that's the key question.
What? Say that again?
Is my name saved with hearts and sprinkles?
Sorry?
It's a bad joke. I was saying, is my name saved with hearts and sprinkles? Anyway, I was trying to add a little humor to the question, but yeah, I just honestly I wouldn't really give a shit that much. Haha, that's not going to happen. Maybe later on. I would just maybe like that message and just re-engage for the next day or something like that.
Yeah.
I wouldn't really think too deeply into it. All right, awesome guys. Thank you for joining. We're going to be doing these Sunday live Q&As. Every Sunday, obviously, we're going to do these once a week. So if we didn't get to your question, just save it for next time. We do get buried with questions, so just try to go through it in order. Also, if you guys want to, contact Eli, the best way to do that, I think, is Facebook, right?
Yeah. Facebook's going to be the best way. Eli Leroy is my name on Facebook.
He's most active in the mastermind. So if you really want to, be able to pick his brain, then another reason to join the mastermind, join the PWF revolution. All right, awesome, guys. And we got another video coming out on Tuesday. It's going to be a good one. I think you guys are going to enjoy that one as well. So stay tuned for that. All right, guys. Have a good night. See you later, bro. Thank you for joining.
Yeah. See you later. Thanks, everybody.